So when Amir lost his sister to a sudden illness, he cried often, withdrew from friends, and found it hard to focus. But over time, months and not days, he began to reconnect with his life. He still missed her terribly, but he could laugh again and even feel joy. In contrast, his cousin Nadia, after the death of her partner a year prior, was still consumed by sadness. She avoided places they used to go, couldn't sleep or eat well, and constantly replayed their last days together. She couldn't imagine a future without him. While Amir was grieving normally, Nadia may have been experiencing something more, what's now called prolonged or pathological grief. Welcome to this mini-series on understanding the language of grief, loss, and trauma. My name is Nathalie Himmelrich. I'm a somatic practitioner, psychological therapist, educator, and author, specialising in grief and trauma, and the host of the How to Deal with Grief and Trauma podcast. Grief and trauma are deeply human experiences, yet many of us struggle to describe what we are going through or to understand what others are facing. The vocabulary of loss is vast, varied, and sometimes overwhelming. In this short podcast episode series, we'll explore the different types of grief, loss, and trauma that people encounter throughout life. Each mini-episode serves both as an educational tool and a compassionate companion for anyone trying to make sense of their own experience with grief, loss, and trauma, or someone who is supporting someone else who is. These terms are more than labels. They are doorways into greater understanding, healing, and connection. Whether you are a bereaved parent, a caregiver, a therapist, or someone walking alongside a grieving friend or someone who has experienced trauma, these bite-sized episodes aim to give you language, insight, and tools. Each one includes a definition, some key considerations, an explanation of why it matters, relevant podcast episodes, and frequently asked questions that I have been asked by my clients and you, the listener of the podcast. And my answers are all grounded in both professional and lived experience. So let's begin. So normal grief is a natural response to loss, emotional, physical, spiritually, and with behavioral reactions that gradually shift and integrate over time. Pathological grief, another name for prolonged grief, and also prolonged grief disorder in the DSM-5, occurs when these symptoms remain intense and unchanging for more than 6 to 12 months and interfere significantly with daily functioning. Grief has no strict timeline, but normal grief typically softens, so people begin to re-engage with life, even if they still feel sadness. Pathological grief, however, involves persistent longing, emotional numbness and avoidance, guilt, and an inability to move forward. It can look like depression, but is rooted in the unprocessed pain of loss. So even though I find it challenging to call grief pathological, understanding the difference prevents people from pathologizing natural grief or, conversely, ignoring when someone is truly stuck in their suffering. It also opens the door to support, especially for those who might benefit from treatments that are specialized in grief therapy or trauma support. So is it normal to still cry after a year? Yes, and it depends on the context. But if functioning is deeply impaired, it might be more than normal grief. So what are the key differences again? So normal grief evolves, while pathological grief stays stuck and disrupts life. Can someone move from normal to pathological grief? Yes. So trauma, isolation, or cumulative losses can push grief into disordered territory. So is it the same as depression? No, but they can overlap, because grief is about loss, and depression affects mood and self-worth more broadly. Can I treat this without medication? Often, yes. Therapy, as I said before, one that is specifically by someone who understands grief and trauma, can be very effective. Does cultural background affect this distinction? Absolutely, because cultural norms around mourning are crucial in how a person sees themselves and how they live their grief. So what if I don't feel anything? Is this pathological? So emotional numbness can be a sign, but it's not a symptom that means your grief is pathological. So it's worth exploring with a therapist who knows what they're looking at. Should I be worried if I'm still grieving? So specifically, I didn't mention a time frame here because it really depends. But grief isn't the issue. It's whether it softens or stays sharp and life-limiting. So can it happen after any kind of loss? Yes, though it's more common after traumatic, sudden, or deeply significant losses. In the next episode, I'll be speaking about distorted grief, so stay tuned. I hope this episode has helped you feel more grounded in the language of loss, grief, or trauma, and maybe even offered you some clarity, validation, or insight into your own experience or the experience of someone you care about. Grief and trauma are deeply personal, yet universal. When we can name what we're feeling, we take one powerful step closer to healing and the integration of our experience back into our life. If this series resonates with you, I invite you to keep exploring. You'll find more resources, courses, and ways to work with me at nathaliehimmelrich.com. And of course, you're always welcome to revisit any of the episodes whenever you need a gentle reminder that you're not alone. Until next time, take good care of your heart.